Episode 52, Berni Xiong.
Welcome to Creative Success. Fueling success with creativity. It's the Creative Success Podcast with Tanner Gears. Designed to build inspiration for life. Delivering the messages and ideas for today.
And I'm Tanner Gears. What can we create together today?
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, creators. Welcome to the Creative Success Show. And this episode is brought to you by HostGator.com. Save 40% right now on your entire hosting package at HostGator.com/Tanner. Isn't it about time that you got online? Especially with how simple my boys over at HostGator are making it. They've got that one-click WordPress install, drag and drop website builders, making it super easy. So if you can drag and drop, you can have your website up in under an hour. And of course, cloud hosting. Websites are faster on the cloud, safer on the cloud, and the cloud is just the place to be. And they've got it all over at HostGator.com. So stop getting kicked in the shins with your web presence. Take control right now and 40% off your entire hosting package at HostGator.com/Tanner. And today's guest on Creative Success is also something special. Speaking of getting kicked in the shins, she is the shin-kicking life spark, which reminds me of my mom's self-appointed title, Mean Ass Snapping Bitch. But today's guest has earned her master's in business administration and is a pro trainer and graduate of Coach University. She left the corporate world and dove into entrepreneurship. It was a shallow pool, so she hit bottom and was forced to go back into the corporate arena. And just 9 months later, creators, she was back on the journey of being a solopreneur. It's okay to fail, creators, but what are you going to do next? What are you going to do about it? This next time, she seemed to get it right. She's now a contributing author to Chicken Soup for the Soul, Good Men Project, The Business Journal, and HuffPost. She's authored her own best-selling book, The Year of the Brave Bear. And when she isn't kicking the shins of all those teens running around her neighborhood, she's sparking lives through her philanthropic efforts or in her business, coaching solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and creatives like me. You can check her out at BerniXiong.com. Berni, thank you so much for joining us today on Creative Success.
Thanks for having me. Before you hit record, I was astounded that you told me that I reminded you of your mother, but now I know exactly why. So I will now say thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of that creepy moment, right, creators, when someone says, yeah, you remind me of my mom, who's actually a grandma. You sound so young, though, Berni, but you've been doing this for a little while now. Now, we just kind of skimmed the cream off the top of that milk, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, yourself, and the shins that you're kicking these days?
Right. Thanks for having me. This is such a pleasure and a joy. Again, before we hit record, I know we chatted a little bit, and I myself used to have a show where I did talk to creative people like your audience and entrepreneurs, and I absolutely miss doing this work. So I want to commend you on doing this work. I know how hard it is to show up and do this kind of stuff every day, but I know it's needed because there are so many people like us out there who are struggling to find the resources or who are just having a hard time getting up every day and wondering whether they're on the right path. And so I think shows like the Creative Success Show really helps others to realize, you know what, we're all in it together. Let's just keep on moving. So with that, I love the introduction story. It's interesting because the story that I feature on my website and that I give in talks, I talk quite extensively about how I had a past life in corporate sales before becoming a coach / entrepreneur. And part of the story that I don't really talk about as much really help, shape who I've become today, now 8 years later, of running a business, starting from scratch, but having no idea what the hell I was doing, because I had no idea that I would go from being, a completely brand new entrepreneur who had no idea what the hell she was doing after leaving a sales job, to now navigating how do I get through these most fearful moments in my life where I feel like giving up and that suicide might be the better option. I know I don't talk about that quite a bit on my website, but I know that these types of conversations come up quite a bit in coaching situations I've had with clients, in speaking engagements I've done in front of groups, as well as the writing that I do with the book that you mentioned, as well as future books that I'm working on. So with that, I know we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about today, but it's definitely around the theme of being brave even when you feel a lot of fear in your life.
Hashtag Brave Bear creators, definitely diving right in, Berni. And I think that there's a part of your past that I've heard about that has definitely influenced you, and it kind of brings these troubles, these problems, these things that would even bring us as human beings, bring us to the point of considering suicide. And I think it is, like what you said, something that I don't think it's not just not being said much on your side or my side or anybody's side. I don't think that this is being talked about much at all. And, working with so many people one-on-one, where do you think that stems from? Where's the block happening?
Right. The word that comes to mind immediately is shame. I was born and raised in America, but my family is from Southeast Asia, and I know my upbringing here in the States, as well as even my family growing up in a third world country. There's a lot of guilt and a lot of shame that is embedded in a child's upbringing. And for me, as far back as I can remember, there was this feeling of, if I don't know this, I'm stupid, or if I don't make the right choices on the first attempt, I fail or I suck, or if I'm not successful at a certain age, or if I don't have certain things that I can put my name on in life, then I'm not good enough. And I don't think anybody ever really teaches you this explicitly. I think it's implied through things you hear, things you see on TV. Society definitely does not help in that arena, especially with all the reality shows going on right now and whatnot. But I definitely think it is deeply embedded in society, and so we grow up feeling shameful if we're not a certain way, or if we don't look a certain way, if we don't have certain things by a certain time in our life. And I think all of those unrealistic expectations, and I think all of those if you want to call it, perfectionist characteristics create these demons inside of us that tell us we are not good enough, and we might as well not be here if we're not living the way others are, if we can't measure up to others. And so I personally believe that that's what happened in my life. And when I look around at the people I know who've also gone through similar situations, they say a lot of the same things too. And, we end up turning 40, 50, 60 years old when we finally realize, oh crap, I was wrong. I was mistaken all of these years. And why did I have to learn so late in life the truth, and that these things don't matter after all, and being a good person does matter, but it's this constant cycle we see being passed down from generation to generation. And I know I'm seeing it being passed down to my kids and beyond as well. So
I really wish I could remember verbatim this Benjamin Franklin quote, where it goes something like, so many of us die at 25, but we don't actually physically die until we're 65.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yes.
So, and the struggle is real, creators. I think that Berni may be resonating with you right now as well as she is with me, because she is being so open and vulnerable, and it's clear that she's not afraid to talk about the things that are going on to help others get through the things that are going on with them. Berni, when we're talking about age, you had mentioned 40s, 50s, and 60s. Do you mind peeling it back when you were 5 and telling us a little bit about what happened there, and how might being sexually abused have had an influence on your life?
Right. Great question. And I think a lot of people may not have a lot of memories from 5, especially the older you get. And the very vivid ones I have really stand out because they actually weren't negative per se. They just were memorable. I remember being 5 years old and feeling not protected, feeling unsafe. A person close to me in my life had touched me in a certain way that at 5, it's wrong. It's not right. Nobody ever really has to tell you that. You just get this visceral feeling that something's just not right, but nobody talks about it. You don't see this anywhere. You don't learn about this anywhere. You don't have conversations about this with anybody. So I felt like I was carrying something with me that I had to keep to myself as a secret, something private. And I almost thought I was doing something wrong. It wasn't as if I thought something was happening to me as me being a victim. It was, oh crap, this happened. I don't want to get in trouble. And it seems like it's probably not right. So I'm just not going to say anything. And that carried on for a couple more years. I'd say probably about 3 or 4 years before I finally told my best friend, who then validated for me that it wasn't right when something like that happens. And whether or not I decided to come forward and be public about it, that I had the right to stop it, that it wasn't right. And so the molestation stopped at about 9 years old or so. And the reason I'm fast forwarding a little bit is because at 5, I didn't really have much to say about what was happening. All I know is around 9 years old, when I looked back at 5, I realized 4 years later what was happening, and it did start to make sense. So much of my recollection of 5 really comes from being older, at 9 years old, and saying, wow, you were victimized, and this is probably something that you will talk about one day.
Yeah, shame, right? Shame and fear. Yeah. And I think my wife is a teacher, and she teaches 2nd grade. And here in the United States, that's like kids that are 6 or 7, and they discuss these things. They have the sex class, I guess, already in 2nd grade, and there's a lot of conversation at the school about being uncomfortable and teachers refusing not to share or educate the kids, and parents can sign out or opt out of that education or information being disseminated to their children. But I was explaining with my wife, I think that it's important that we do educate these kids, because like you said, we're so naive at such a young age. We don't really know, and there might be that one kid in that one class, and who knows, it could be 5 or 6, but there might be that one kid who needs to hear this information, and how will receiving it change their life?
Right.
So how did you move forward through that?
Right. I believe it was between the ages of 9 and 10 was when I had my first thought that someday when I grow up, I want to be somebody who makes a difference for children in their lives. Now, at the time, it started with, protecting them from people touching them inappropriately. And then later on, the idea elaborated a little bit more. As I said to you, my parents were born in another country, so I've pretty much been poor or working class the majority of my youth. So the other part of it was, when I grow up, I want to be that resource. I want to be that person who can mentor or guide or help that little girl who I once was, because I'm not naive enough to think that I'm the last of that kind of person, that there will be many more like me who need that kind of support and help. And so I daydreamed from a very, very young age that someday I'm going to grow up and make a difference in the world, and that I wanted to help children. So I held on to that dream for a very long time, as you can see. You know, I'm turning 40 this year, so it's beautiful to be able to see a lifelong dream manifest in my early 30s. And, you know, I've been doing this for close to 8 years now. So those days that I look back and you know, question myself, why haven't I done more? Why haven't I gone more places? Why haven't I been, you know, why haven't I written more books? Why have I stood on more stages and whatnot, right? All the negative self-talk. I then, you know, remind myself, you wanted to do this very work when you were 9, 10 years old, and you're doing it. You're living it. So that is success in itself. There's no need to judge, you know, how it looks. The fact that you're doing your life's work in itself is success.
We're talking with Berni Xiong from BerniXiong.com creators, and I hope did I say that correct? How do you pronounce
yes.
it?
Yes, you did. Okay. Very good.
All right, because I'm also from Southeast Asia, and no, I'm just kidding.
Are you being sarcastic? Because I see your picture here. I mean, you could be. You could be.
No, I just. I could be. Yeah, I could be. It's,
you never know.
It's possible. But we're talking with Berni Xiong from BerniXiong.com, and I'm really enjoying the conversation that we have, the depth, the how we're pulling back the layers of onion, and really just kind of getting a glimpse at how many layers that we have on our onions, creators. Yeah. And it's clear to me, as I'm getting this bird's eye view, kind of developing in my mind, my consciousness, who Berni Xiong is, I have the understanding, I get the impression that you're a lifelong learner. I think that you're probably also a lifelong practitioner. You're a Reiki Master. I'm a level 1. I'm a certified level 1
nice.
Reiki practitioner. And how has energetic medicine or therapy or those modalities, how have they helped you in your business? And is there any correlation to them being able to help you, these modalities helping you with your clients?
Yes, and yes. It's been absolutely tremendous. This energy work. 8 years ago, before I left corporate, I got my life coaching training, as you mentioned in the intro. And shortly after that, I realized that though it's great practical education, and believe me, one of the best courses of study I would recommend for anybody wanting to improve communication, because coaching, I believe, was more about being a more honed communicator than anything. Some people get life coaching confused with therapy or, you know, counseling, and in some ways you communicate similarly to that, but it's not exactly the same. After getting that practical education and being a better communicator, I still felt like I was missing something, because I was still that type A alpha female saleswoman before. So I was not balanced, very high strung, sometimes very aggressive, insomniac, didn't get a lot of sleep. And around the time that I had embarked on this new journey, I realized, well, I can't help people if I can't even really help myself. So that was around the time I started seeing a psychotherapist for the mental health issues surrounding the trauma of being molested as a kid, as well as having codependent and toxic relationships as an adult. And then on top of that, I think most importantly, it was just being able to balance myself on a daily basis, because I was always running on empty. And I needed to learn how to be still, which was something I couldn't do. So my psychotherapist and a close friend of mine had suggested getting into energy work. And so Reiki was one of the first modalities that was introduced to me. So I fell in love with it as soon as I went and had my first Reiki treatment. And for those who aren't familiar with it, the best way I describe it is it's like how you feel at the end of a massage without somebody actually massaging your muscles. I felt so relaxed. I felt so in the moment and not up in my head, with racing 100 mile an hour thoughts. And I finally was able to feel meditative and calm, which was something that wasn't easy for somebody like me who was so high strung to feel. So shortly after I started noticing the Reiki treatments were working, I thought, why not become a Reiki practitioner? And so over the course of the last 7 years, I did all 3 levels of Reiki, and now I'm a Reiki Master, which basically means I've learned all the different attunements that are needed to then pass on the gift of Reiki healing from one practitioner to another. So the fact that you did level 1, I bet you can already see the tremendous benefits of having that kind of healing gift. For me, I have found that the more and more I upped my Reiki game, the more and more my intuition opened up and my ability to be in tune with people and understand situations and hear and see things that I've never really quite saw and heard before, has become even more enhanced and stimulated because of my ability to really be still and really be in tune with myself and my intuition, as well as with the energies of others. So.
And you also left out that as a Reiki Master, you can now actually hover and walk across water. So that's pretty cool too.
I tried that, and I haven't quite mastered that yet, but I'm getting there.
But I'll teach you. It's not a big deal.
Sounds good.
And yes, I mean, I love I think that the non-physical, the energy work is so crucial. I'm bar certified for Access Consciousness, and then Reiki, also quantum touch, and creators. I think that Berni can relate to seeing this in her clients. I know that it's been true for me, especially this year as my business has been growing and things have been escalating, and there's the stress continues to mount and the time continues to run out. And I really noticed it this year when I went to the Beat Baseball World Series. And I really, in all previous years, I was able to really separate work and what I was doing outside of playing baseball. I was able to separate it. And this year I could not. I was doing a lot of work email, a lot of work while just over there, supposed to be on vacation. People had mentioned it multiple times. And Berni, I was an asshole. I was a complete, and 2 people had said, "What's wrong with you, man? I've never seen you like this." And I am typically a very centered, grounded, heart-focused individual, and I was a jerk. I was a completely different person. And that's when I realized that I've got to get back and I've got to make time. It's a mandatory for me to work on the inner game, the mental game, above the neck, and the energy game. When you are doing this with your clients and you're working at that level, that frequency, the non-physical, can you share with us some of the things that you've been able to help your clients achieve or become aware to or move beyond?
You know what's interesting is when I work in a consultative or coaching where people aren't expecting any energy work manner, I notice that people tend to push back more at me or kind of hear what I'm saying, but kind of not hear it. And it's really interesting. I have found that when they know they're going into an energy or intuitive type of session with me, I call them intuitive sessions, they are so open to what I'm saying that people rarely ever question it. I'm not claiming to be, a psychic medium or anything. And I know that, we have TV shows on that show you these psychics walking up to random people on the street and telling them of a message that their loved ones has to share with them and whatnot. But I find that which is intriguing to me, by the way. I don't have that gift. But I find that when people are reaching out to me and asking me for my intuitive insight, they're kind of wanting interactions like that to happen. So they're so open to whatever it is that I offer them in terms of, is there something that I'm seeing for them? Or is there something that I'm sensing or feeling for them as it relates to the question that they're asking me? So I have found more times than not, and I'm so surprised in such a positive way about this, that instead of judging me and thinking I'm cuckoo, more people are saying, no, please get more elaborate if you want. Feel free to go wherever you need to go to download this information for me, because I really want to hear it. So, more times than not, I'm actually so excited to see that the world is becoming a more conscious place of people who are open to expanding their own intuition, to not being a skeptical about, or maybe not the word skeptical, but not being a cynical about people who do this type of work. And they actually embrace the fact that it is so different, so vastly different than what they're used to. And that I can consult them in a very practical way, or we can do it in a very interesting, co-creative, innovative way where, their divine wisdom is talking to them through me, and they don't think I'm weird, or at least they haven't told me that they think I'm weird. So that's how it typically works. It's a conversation between us, but I'm bringing in some divine wisdom that they're feeding to me through their energy, but I'm helping them translate that, and people don't freak out when I help them with that information, and I'm so floored by that.
So it's, I'm guessing it goes like, divinity, shin kick, divinity. Is that how it?
Probably.
It's a shin
Probably.
kick sandwich.
There can be some shin kicking though, a little bit more, depending on how long I've worked with the person. But the shin kicking I do is only necessary for those who actually want the practical application type of tools from me to say, okay, tell me exactly what to do, Berni, where, when, and how. That's what I get paid the big bucks for. And then those who just want the insight, but not necessarily the tools, there isn't as much shin kicking, because I'm giving them insight that they're looking for, but I'm not necessarily doing any work for them, or helping them to implement a process or a system around it. So there's so many different levels of which I work with people. It really depends on how much they want to dive into the situation with me or not.
Certainly, and I said it for comic relief, but I also said it with practicality in mind, because I think depending on the person that you're dealing with, understanding their emotional intelligence, how they operate from, probably many of the soft skills that you picked up while at Coach University, is that some people just need to be called out on their shit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The people at Coach University would kick my ass. I mean, that's the reason why I make a distinction between we're coaching right now in the session versus, we're doing a consultation right now in the session, because coaching, as you're probably really familiar with, is about creating space for that person to come up with their own conclusion to the situation at hand, providing them a space that they feel safe to talk it out and to think about it. And you're their sounding board, you're validating, you're listening. And on the other hand, I've got people who are like, okay, that's great, but I still need somebody to show me the ropes. You've been here before me. How do you do A, B, and C? Can I hire you to do that? That's when I added the consulting piece to it, because I thought, well, if I have the answer to it, I want to help them, well, then I charge separately for this type of work. So people who come to me now are typically coming to me for a hybrid version of the two, because I don't see myself being able to do one and then closing off the other. It's like telling somebody not to breathe, right? If that's what they know and are familiar with and the kind of work they do. So that's why I gave myself my own title. That's why I'm a shin-kicking life spark, because people can go, well, what the hell is that? And I'm like, whatever it is, whatever I want it to be at this moment in time, and I'll slap a dollar amount on it. That's what it is.
I love it. I think that it's so... we're hitting both sides of the coin here, and both sides are very, very valuable with what we're speaking on right now, because I think that sometimes maybe it's the fear, it's that shame, that thing from our childhood when we're talking with somebody on the phone and we have to say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here, I'm shooting from the hip. And when you're matched up with a person like yourself, when you're matched up with someone who is at a good caliber or on the same level with you. They have the same basic understanding, or at least they step to the table with a different perspective, a new mind, that they're open to helping you out. Just talking through things can happen so fast where you just come up with solutions. And I also think that it's very analogous to just how one or two sessions can open up so many doors when we're talking about energetic healing or therapy, or as you said, intuitive sessions.
Right. I couldn't agree more with you. And I've told my clients this as well. I said, I get just as much from the exchange as my client does. There have been times that, of course, I'm not going to tell my client this, but there have been times that very week or the week before, I had a similar situation and I wasn't sure if I handled it well. And then the following week, I get a client who comes up with the same exact issue that I just dealt with. And then helping them through it validated for me that A, I was on the right path. I did the right thing for me. And that B, perhaps we are attracting to us the people who we need to learn from as well as they need to learn from us. And so for me, I see the synchronicity as being a validation that we are doing the right work and that we are meeting the right people and that we are taking the right measures to move forward in the situation. So I get just as much benefit from coaching and helping others as they do from me being their guide and mentor and coach.
It's absolutely one of the reasons why I love podcasting. It's enabled me to do so much work in terms of helping the people that I don't even know that are listening to the show that are helping. Like, I know that they're out there. I don't see them face to face. I'm not experiencing them in real time, but I also get to engage with individuals like you, and we get to work together at some, basic or expanded level, depending on how things go. And I'm loving this exchange right here. I love knowing that there's other people out there in the world like us creators who are really purpose driven, and that purpose is igniting a passion, and that passion is serving other people.
Right. And it definitely makes you feel more at home. It definitely validates for you that you're on the right path, you're doing the right job. Because when I was done with my podcast, as I mentioned to you earlier, I felt bad. I felt like I was letting down my community. And I don't know if I said it on the air, but it became a full-time job having a show on top of having a full-time business that I run. So I had to let one go. And when I let it go, it did feel like a part of me, died, or that a part of me kind of failed. And actually, the beautiful thing about it was just because I was no longer doing it doesn't mean that the work didn't continue. Because as you can see, I may have not knowingly passed the torch on to others, whether it was you or all of the other podcasting friends that I have who are talking about similar things. This work is being done, and whether I'm doing it or not, I get to be a part of it. And I think that's the beauty in it. And when you're done, God forbid that happens, but there will be somebody else who then succeeds you, and so on and so on. And I think that's a beautiful thing about this type of work. There's so many people out in the world doing this kind of work, and we just need to find each other. That's the exciting part.
Yes, absolutely. Unified.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you saying, just kind of echoing what I know, which is that putting on a podcast is a tremendous amount of work, especially if you're doing it at any kind of like high class, high quality level. If I just hit record and was like willy-nilly, okay, we're going to publish this bad boy, there's so much that goes into it besides being here in front of the mic and experiencing the epic shin-kicking awesomeness that is Berni Xiong.
So glad to be a part of this journey, though, and I can't wait to see episode 100, 200, 300, 500.
Well, if I don't melt down the podcast airwaves before then yes, we'll see how that goes. But so, Berni, we're dropping value left and right. I think that we've illustrated, the importance of working through personal development, trying to overcome some of those childhood embedded beliefs or thoughts or habits, how we can break through our business, our lives really quickly when we're talking with other like-minded individuals who are really purpose-driven on helping us, or energetically working with a professional and quickly breaking through some things because we haven't even gotten into the energy world. Incredibly powerful stuff there. If there was one thing that you would advise entrepreneurs or individuals to really take the next step what's the best way to get going in that direction? How can we break through some of the stuff that we've built up in the past?
Right. That's a huge question, by the way, as you know.
Well, I like to make it easy.
Of course. But something that has been coming to mind in this entire conversation, and this might have been something I haven't really said before in past interviews I've given, but there's a huge question that tends to come up quite a bit in the work I do. In addition to coaching and the Reiki healing, I do a lot of training for sales, marketing, and communications type of staff at small businesses. And so I'll actually go on site and I'll train people. And something that comes up quite a bit is, how do I go and, do this thing? How do I go and perform and get over the fear of messing up, right? Get over the fear of looking stupid or whatever it is. So whether you're giving a speech, whether you're delivering a presentation yourself, whether you're on a new project and you're trying to figure it out, whether you're starting a brand new business and you have no idea what you're doing, whether you're pitching a brand new client for the first time as an entrepreneur, I would give the same advice to these people, and it would be, it's not about you. Remove yourself from feeling this fear of, will I look dumb? Will I sound stupid? Am I going to do this wrong? And shift the focus on, what is the impact that I want to make on this person that I'm about to interact with? Okay, so I'll repeat that again. Stop making it about you and make it about the person that you want to serve, that you want to help. Because the moment you shift the fears and those uncomfortable emotions from me, look at me, poor me, and you turn it around and you make it about, you know what, I might be new at this, but I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. You know what, I might not understand how to put a proposal together, but I'll sure figure out how to. I might not know the answers for the next steps on this process, but let me go ask somebody who does, right? You will find a way to make it work. You will find a way to get the resources, to get the tools, to do what you need to do to be successful in that moment. Once you turn it away from, oh my gosh, I feel paralyzed in fear because I'm having everybody stare at me and I feel naked. And you're turning it around to be, what do I need to do to make this shit happen so I can leave a better and positive impact on this person I want to help?
I am naked right now. And Berni just dropped the golden ticket to get into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, because it reminds me, so I do these Motivation Monday episodes that I just started doing, and it's so reflective of what you're talking about right now. As much time and effort that it goes into creating the shows that I have, the existing shows that I have twice a week, I decided to step it up and make it more about the audience, make it more about creators and how can I serve more. And so in writing these Monday Motivation episodes, the one that's getting ready to come out next week from the time at which we're recording this, there's a line in there where it says, if you're smart enough to keep trying, you will eventually learn how to do it right. Mm-hmm. If you're dumb enough to keep trying, eventually you will learn how to do it right. It doesn't.
I love that. Yes.
So
that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
And that's it, right, creators? We just got to keep trying and make the effort to make it about somebody else. Mm-hmm. And watch the bricks fall in place, and you build a legacy that's a wonder of the world, like the pyramids. One brick at a time, one step at a time. And when you make it about someone else, those bricks just seem to fall in place. Berni, living legend, Berni Xiong on the line with Creation Nation right now. Where can creators connect with you?
Sure. The best place to find me and my work, my blog, and everything is bernixiong.com.
And we'll get all that linked up on the show notes page. Again, Berni, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tanner. It's been my pleasure.
Berni, thank you so much for hopping on the line and dropping bombs on Creation Nation. Creators, are you feeling Bernie? Are you feeling the brave bear there? How about that bear inside you? Come on over to the complete show notes page at creativesuccessshow.com/52. That's where we've got all the links to connect with Bernie right there. And I highly recommend you doing so. Now, creators, I have a favor to ask you. It would really make a big difference. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a few moments and subscribe to the show. You may have been listening for a little while now, but I would really appreciate it if you would join the family and subscribe. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and if you would just search Creative Success, I'll be the first podcast to pop up. Go ahead and subscribe, please. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, we're also at the home base, creativesuccessshow.com, where you can stream all day to your heart's content. And personally, I like streaming from the website. So just join the newsletter, that's like subscribing, and I will send you a short email with a nice description each time I release a new one. Creators, I greatly appreciate you. Let me know if there is anything I can do to support you along this journey. And until next time, I am Tanner Gears, your partner in braveness and creative success.